as a service technician, IT technician, computer technician, whatever title you want to give yourself, you might be called upon to customize a system for a customer, including a graphics or CAD CAM workstation, very pricey system. You might have to work with audio and video editing workstations, virtualization workstations, gaming PC, home theater PC, home server PC, thick or thin clients, various type systems. So some of the things that's really important when called upon to customize these systems are some of these following items I have listed here. Meet the application requirements. Consider any special hardware the application might require. If you're using a digital tablet for graphics applications, make sure you research those and get the right ones. Make sure they're going to meet the customer requirements, and make sure that the overall system requirements will allow for that new device. When customizing, make sure that you're spending the money that's needed on those hardware components so that you are meeting the customer's needs. You obviously want to give your customer, options, but make sure that you're not getting too cheap on those primary components. And make sure that you're considering, as we've talked about before, all hardware compatibility. Start with your motherboard and processor and work your way up. Make sure that what you are wanting or getting for this customized system is going to work and that everything's compatible. Now, if you're having to work with a CAD CAM, computer aided design, computer aided manufacturing workstation, this is going to be a very graphic intensive applications that are going to be performed on this computer. They are going to require high-end video cards and lots of memory. Make sure that if you're building this, that the motherboard provides quad channels for memory and plenty of memory slots, as you just can't have too much memory on a CAD CAM workstation. Make sure you're using a very, very powerful multi-core processor with a large CPU cache for those actions that are being performed. Use fast hard drives. I can't emphasize enough the use of solid state drives. Unfortunately, with the solid state drives, the cost is still kind of out there a little bit, so getting one with a lot of capacity might be an issue, so just make sure customers know this on the front end. And of course, one of the most expensive parts that you're going to have in there is that high-end video card for their video requirements. Depending on the software that they are using, the manufacturer may provide various system configurations for you to use as a template in building or acquiring these CAD CAM workstations for customers. Because a lot of those type companies will go ahead and test different hardware to see what works best and meets the requirements for that software for those CAD CAM stations. When it comes to those high-end video cards, I say that not as a joke, but you will spend thousands of dollars on these video cards for these type workstations. Here's an example of one, the NVIDIA Quadro 6000, and you can see this is going to cost you roughly around $4,000 easy. Sometimes you might need to customize an audio or video editing workstation, and these are going to be kind of your mid-range to high-end workstations, maybe not quite as aggressive as your CAD CAM stations. Just depends on the customer. Make sure your motherboard is going to support dual, triple, or quad channel memory running at least 1600 megahertz of RAM. An i7 processor or one that's equivalent is definitely needed for this, and a bare minimum is 16 gig of RAM for your editing at this workstation. The more is better, and just can't emphasize that enough. Make sure you have a good card, but it's not necessarily as good as a CAD CAM station. You can cut costs a little bit here compared to that, but you still want to make sure, because they are dealing with video, that you have a very good video card. Once again, you do need a fast hard drive here, so if you can go with the solid state, that would be great, or multiple solid states. Just know that, especially when someone's dealing with video, you are going to have to worry about the capacity of those to make sure you have enough room for all that work to be done. Now, you have someone wanting you to build a gaming PC. You definitely want a very good processor and high-end video as well as sound cards. Now, a lot of your gamers are going to overclock those CPUs, so there's a risk there always with overclocking those. Make sure they know that. And also make sure you have plenty of cooling methods that we talked about in previous chapters available on that PC, because you want to make sure that, because that's running high-end graphics and sound cards, and the processor is putting out so much heat, you want to make sure that system stays cool and doesn't burn down. Make sure you're taking a look at both the already manufactured gaming PCs as well as customization, and see which one is more cost effective for the customer. Give them options. And I'll conclude here with just flashing up the minimum hardware requirements we talked about in previous chapter for Windows 7, since Windows 7 is still the primary OS right now, as we've not fully made that transition into Windows 10. But I just want to reiterate these minimum specifications so that they are embedded in your mind, so when you see that on exam, you will make sure you have that answer correct. Well, everyone, thank you for joining me through the brief discussion over satisfying customer needs.